you go. It's always good to be home. I became an executive director at age 27. Young, woman, Black. Suddenly responsible for raising $4 million a year, privileged to lead a team of 22, 150 teachers, over 400 alumni, and 20,000 incredible students in our care and classrooms every single day across this region. Thankfully, I was not raised to be intimidated. My parents kept in front of me role models who reflected my identity, and many of them had become leaders at a young age. Diane Nash and Fannie Lou Hamer, Frankie Freeman, Margaret Bush Wilson. And it wasn't just the famous and historic examples that got me going. My own parents were and are stalwart fighters for justice, leaders in this community, and constant reminders to defy the odds for the sake of something bigger than you. I was raised to believe that I could accomplish anything, and so I was ready, absolutely ready to take on the work. But once I got started, that confidence with which I entered the space was quickly challenged by the experiences I started to have at the helm. I looked around the region and didn't see many other executive directors who looked like me. I looked across the country in my field of education, and there were many women of color doing incredible work, but leading large enterprises, well, I could count those folks on one hand. Meeting prep became more about my nail color and my hairstyle, my wardrobe, where and when the meeting would happen, than prepping for the meeting itself, all because I had to be careful not to fit into too many of those stereotypes. And then there were the times that the conversation turned to my looks or my beauty instead of what's best for children. Or the many times when very important people would only conduct business with my white male colleague even though he reported to me. Now, it wasn't as if I didn't know those things would come with the territory. I was raised to have confidence in my abilities, just as I was raised to know the obstacles I'd have to overcome, because Black and woman are both what I am very proud to be, but what America hasn't quite figured out yet. Those stereotypes that we saddle women of color with, that follow us every single day into every single place, saddle us and restrict us and limit us. And they even follow us to work. Because coming in with confidence and preparation often gets me labeled the angry Black woman. Have you heard of it before? Yeah. Or the Latina leader who's expected to be fiery and feisty in all of her interactions. Or the Asian woman that we expect to be meek and docile in the workplace. The Native women that we often overlook and ignore, and the Muslim women who in our Western assumptions we've decided must be oppressed, and so she needs us to speak for her. Far too often in America, women of color don't fit the archetype of leadership. We are 1/3 of all working women, and yet we are overrepresented in low-wage jobs. And of the 500 CEOs that lead Standard & Poor's list of the nation's largest companies, only 2 are women of color. Women of color are doing incredibly important work, and all women are powerful, but women of color, we face unique odds and seemingly insurmountable challenges that we still decide to face down every single day and thrive despite them. Our power is unparalleled. Our drive, our grit, our commitment to win is nearly unmatched. It's tested every single day, and yet here we stand. Imagine if we applied that fire-tested perseverance to our world's greatest challenges. What a sight to behold. But we lose ground every single day. We can't do that to scale, and we can't do that to scale if we continue to erase women of color from the larger conversation on women. If we continue to talk about leaning in as if leaning in is the same job for me as it is for my white counterparts. When we talk about August 18th, 1920, as the day when all women earned the right to vote, instead of remembering that Black women across the South didn't earn that right for another 4.5 decades, long after most of the suffragettes had gone home. If we continue to erroneously quote the fact that women make 77 cents for every man's dollar, when in fact, Black women make 64 cents, Latinas make 56 cents, and often Asian, Pacific Islander, and Native women aren't even included in the equation. Women of color have been helping hold the fabric of this country together for centuries, and so often, you don't even say our names. That invisibility is dangerous. As Sister Zora Neale Hurston told us, if you are silent about your pain, they can kill you and say you enjoyed it. So instead, I'd like to do what Sister Audre Lorde told us, to define ourselves for ourselves. To walk into our workplaces as our full selves, actualized and self-defined as women of color without apology. To never diminish our power for the comfort of dominant culture. To never quiet our voices to preserve someone else's fragility. To never undermine our value simply because we keep being told we don't fit the bill. Imagine telling the next Sonia Sotomayor that she might as well give up now because brown girls from the Bronx don't belong on the Supreme Court. Do you want to be responsible for what we'll all lose if she doesn't sit on that bench? Or imagine telling Maya Lin that her Eastern traditions are too strange for a Western art world. I think those veterans who would otherwise be honored by her design would want her talent. Imagine telling Michelle Obama, the next Michelle Obama, to quiet her voice, to make her image more conciliatory. I don't think that we want to be responsible for robbing the world of that magnificent leadership. The tragedy, of course, is that Sonia, Maya, Michelle heard all of those things growing up. And the next Sonia, the next Maya, the next Michelle, they've heard all of those things and more, maybe from some of us. But I believe we can use our powers for good. I believe that we can have the will and make the choice to create workplaces, institutions, and a country that values women of color for all we bring and judges us on the merits of our work, that pays us equitably for the labor we provide and promotes us according to our contributions. Because women of color lead powerfully, and it's to everyone's benefit. It's Fannie Lou Hamer fighting for political representation for all poor people. It's Dolores Huerta fighting for all farmers, and young Malala fighting for good schooling for girls all across the world. I mean, if Congress were more than 6% of women, maybe they'd get more done and have a higher approval rating. It's just my personal opinion. I believe we can make the choice to see the woman in the Ghanaian necklace as powerful as the woman with blonde hair and the man in the navy suit. We won't solve our toughest challenges, and we will continue to experience a global loss until we do. Because when women of color lead, we all win. Thank you so much.